I'm interested to know, Janice, like, how has it affected or what kind of impact do you have in your data plan? Because, I've got my torch. I do, I surf the web as much as I need to, but I fully anticipate I'm going to do more web browsing with my tablet device. And, you mentioned the guy who's potentially watching video while he's in his tractor. So I think there's potential to use a lot more data. What have you found on that front?
So actually on my plan, I have, in the U.S. our plans are, there's a few different ones, and I have the lowest plan possible. So it's $14.99 a month.
You're kidding me. $14.99?
That ticks me off.
Well, obviously your plans are cheaper.
Well, your dollars are not really real dollars. They're Canadian dollars.
Oh, you know what, Janice? I think actually our dollar is worth the same as yours. Before you want to start talking currency smack.
I'm just joking with you, Sean. But it really, I got that really basic plan because so much of my stuff, I'm using it a lot when I travel, and I travel extensively for work. What's interesting is I kind of assumed, when I first got it that, okay, you're probably stupid for getting the lowest plan. You probably should bump it way up, because on every phone and everything I've always had to have the highest. But because of the dynamic of how I'm using it, I use it so much when I'm on the road and you have a hotel with free wireless or some of those kind of things. I think what's interesting is with more of the farms that are really using kind of GPS technologies and stuff, I think some more folks are talking about whether or not they're going to have access in more rural areas where they're going to have wireless services kind of through the air as well. So in some places, I also pick up AT&T Wi-Fi, which, you can just be anywhere and just happen to find it. So I think the problem is probably with, more remote areas and things. I agree, watching too much video is going to eat you up on your data plan. But a lot of those are also structured so they have a low resolution version that goes first on a mobile line. So I wouldn't overreact to it. I'd just be sensitive and watch those first couple of months use. And really, in the U.S. at least, we have the ability to make changes on ours on a monthly basis. So,
for a $14 plan, what are you getting for data?
I should have known you were going to ask that, so I'm going to have to look it up. So,
because I think I pay I'm going to say $40. Or 35 maybe, it's but I got I think I got the mid plan. I think I get 250 megabytes or something, or maybe I can't remember, 500 maybe.
Yeah, I think I get 500 and it costs me about $40.
But now in Canada, Rogers has this thing where you can, I'm not a Rogers customer, but I know they've been marketing it, is where you can put all your devices together on one data plan. That makes a lot of sense. Do you have that in the US, Janice?
That sounds awesome. I have to admit, since I work for a company, my BlackBerry is paid for on a corporate side, and I haven't looked at how to get a smartphone and everything all on one. But I do know that I could combine some elements. I'm not sure the iPad would fit in, say, on a kind of cellular home, cell phone, all those kind of things.
Right.
Well, it'll be neat to see how the playbook works, because it's going to tether through your BlackBerry and through your Bez, through your enterprise server. So, that's something I'm looking forward to seeing how that works, and if it's convenient or if it's a pain, we'll see.
Or if it ever comes out.
And you should know now, mine's 250 megabytes.
250 for $14.
$14.99. It's $15 really.
So that's oh man, that's cheaper.
Yeah. Well, you know what? $15 versus 45 or 50. That's one thing. But Phil and I have talked about this, but it's really our phone minutes that are killing us in Canada.
Yeah.
We're just getting, and it's not data. It stays the same. I don't think I've ever come close to using more than what they've allotted. So I could probably even go cheaper there, but. I've got dinged on phone minutes sometimes. Yeah. That's for sure.
Hey, Janice, I know in Canada when I go, when we do you kind of do the farm show circuit, January, February, or November, December, January, February. the amount of farmers that have iPads obviously iPad was the farm show gift of the year this year. Every farm show was giving away iPads in different booths, but the amount of farmers using them just increased through the whole winter. Obviously, after Christmas, there was a lot of people that got iPads for Christmas. Are you seeing the same kind of growth? It just every month there's more and more people you see with them?
Yeah, I tell you, there for a while, they were like, wow, I saw an iPad in the wild kind of thing.
Yeah, iPad envy.
That would get a buzz going. Oh my gosh, that person has an iPad and stuff. I think they've become really commonplace. Mm-hmm. And what's really interesting is how few farmers are kind of going, whoa, what is that? I think more and more you're seeing farmers pick it up because farmers really can't get away from their email anymore, just like anybody else,
Right, yeah, exactly.
I think a lot of times carrying your work laptop and stuff to those kind of shows is really iffy if you're a farmer. Your work computer includes a lot of different things, and I've seen people use their iPad to log in to what they've got at home and kind of handle out the rest of their kind of payroll for the month. Or one of them that I really love is a guy out in Lubbock that I mentioned earlier. We were sitting at the convention center there in Lubbock last spring, and he was pulling up his irrigation at home.
Yeah.
And looking at where those pivots were, and knowing that they were continuing to run. It was early in the season. He wanted to make sure that if he had anything stopping, the well would cut off, all that kind of stuff. He just wanted to know where he was with his soil moisture. And the same guy is using a system there to kind of track the genetics in all of his herd, because he also has cattle. So, how quickly some of these farmers are coming up with really utilitarian ways of sharing that information that they need to have on hand. If you're out at a farm show and you've got cattle, you could have somebody really quickly suggest, well, I'd be willing to talk to you about buying a cow or a bull or something, and he's able to pull up all his information. He's got photos of the animals in there. He's got their genetic lines. It could make a difference for a farmer being able to make a deal on the spot.
Yeah, like Peter, do you see a reason for someone for a farmer not to get an iPad? Or
you're kind of asking the wrong guy, because I'm really anxious to have one, but
so why don't? So have you been waiting for a year? Like have you been waiting for a year for this to come out?
It seems like it, but I guess the first thing was to upgrade the smartphone device from a BlackBerry Curve to a Torch, and that was a huge improvement. I mean, it's a very capable smartphone, but I guess one of the things I wanted to ask Janice is, she has a Torch, like a BlackBerry. How did you find? As I understand, I mean, we've got an iPod Touch here in the household. They just seem really intuitive and easy to use. Is the iPad that way? Did it take a while to get onto it, or is it quick and easy?
Here's what's frightening is the first time I touched it, I was good to go, and I'm not a Mac household. And it's been that way with everybody. From, seriously, my mom has used it quite a bit, and she's in her 70s. My niece is 9, and you would think it was hers. The first time she picked it up, she was looking for the Netflix so she could watch video.
Yeah.
To me, it's so intuitive that's not going to be a problem for virtually anybody.
You should see my 6-year-old. It's insane.
No, I mean, it's so quick. I mean, a kid on the plane next to me when I was going down to Fort Myers. He was traveling, ostensibly he was traveling with his father, but his father also had an infant. So the 4-year-old was kind of, mine to entertain or something. He was driving me nuts. So I just pulled up Angry Birds on my iPad, and there you go. I had a babysitter for the kid next to me. and he had never touched an iPad. He asked me what it was and everything, but he knew more about Angry Birds than the shuttle driver when I landed in Fort Myers, because I was telling a friend from Bayer's agency about it, and the shuttle driver asked me, "How do you make those birds do the things I was saying?" I said, well, here's what you do. You tap the screen. And the kid had never played an iPad, never had Angry Birds, and he knew to try that kind of stuff to see what works.
Just like that, yeah.
And he was 4, and his dad was sitting there next to him going, what are you doing?
Yeah, but I think that speaks well exactly for a lot of people that haven't been into a lot of these devices, right?
Right, it's very intuitive.
It's just as easy as it is for a 6-year-old or an 8-year-old to kind of pick it up just like that. I think it's the same with the 45-year-old or 60-year-old farmer that thinks this is kind of neat and interesting. Would like to try it.
So Janice, can I ask you? Do you have any ag-specific apps loaded up on your iPad? Sean and I have looked at the DTN's got a nice iPad app. I know there are more coming, but do you have any that you can sort of point out for the audience?
Yeah, so I love the DTN app. That's a great one, and I'm probably a little behind in picking some of them up. AgWired has one that you can use on the iPhone and stuff. I've loaded it on here, and that's pretty neat. And then more recently, I found one through Twitter. My friend Mark over at Love Fresh headquarters, he'll love that. I've added him in there, but they've got a thing that helps you kind of find local food and things of that nature. It's more of a foodie application, but I've got it, and they're in the process of building the U.S. I think what's interesting is how many of the things that are already built into here that made it automatically able to be used for agricultural stuff. Using Evernote or Notes or things along that line. All those livestock records I mentioned this guy has, he just put them in Notes.
Yeah.
It's able to go back to his home computer and everything. He's able to sync it up. Makes a lot of sense. And yet, he's got it right there on his iPad. So I think there's some things where we really need specialized tools, and I think we probably haven't seen as much of that in areas like crop development and stuff that I bet you we're about to get a huge windfall of those, because like Sean said, lots of businesses have been handing those out. I think the ag media are up there, and they're getting things out, and DTN and AgWired are probably the top ones that I've seen.
Yeah, I think
I've got a feeling. Sorry, Sean. I've got a feeling that a year from now we'll be talking about literally dozens and dozens of these. So it's going to come fast.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that Janice points out, makes a very good point, is that there's a lot of these tools that are, they're made for the general masses, but they have a huge fit for things that we're doing on the farm. And I think that's, we need to that sometimes gets overlooked.
Yeah.
We talk about, ag-focused application stuff, but there's a lot of things that are already there that people can definitely use. And the bigger screen real estate makes a huge difference. Like I remember Ray Dairy showing me on his Droid, how he can tap into his dairy database, the milking production. You put that kind of information on a bigger screen, it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot better for applications where you're requested to enter data, right? So, it's tough to do with a little torch and you're futzing away trying to get information into that device. I think it's going to be much easier with tablets, that's for sure.
I can tell you, filling out a form on an internet site, a couple of weeks ago, I was so ticked off by trying to accept a LinkedIn invitation that I was going nuts on my BlackBerry. And then I was like, well, why the hell didn't you pull that out of your bag anyway? And then it's done and quick, and you can see everything you need in the form and, get it filled out. You've spelled things right, so you don't hit return 4 different times and keep misspelling it or hitting the wrong key or autocorrect knocking you out or something. That accuracy of information is pretty awesome.
Well, it's a lot better for Twitter too, right? So for a lot of farmers getting used to Twitter, the Twitter app, things like that make it a lot easier too.
I gotta tell you, if you're a farmer and you're interested in telling your story, a tablet really makes a huge difference to me. And the reason I say that is you look at it, and more we have farmers that are out there that are putting out pictures of their farm, they're putting out different information. You know what? At the end of the day, they go to a Rotary meeting or some alumni group or whatever in town. somebody starts asking them questions about their farm, they can pull out photos that engage people in their story so fast, it's unbelievable. I've even gone to the extent of getting some videos of different farmers and stuff, and probably the most played one on my iPad is I've got a video of a cotton picker, and it's one of them that makes the module on board, and I've got that video on my iPad. And when I pull out my iPad on a regular basis, the background photo is actually a cotton field with pickers running in it, and a lot of people haven't seen that. And people start asking me a few questions about it, and I go, well, if you'd like to see a video, I could show you that. And next thing you know, you've got people who may not have thought anything about the fact their T-shirts came from a farm going, whoa, wait a minute, that was like an awesome piece of equipment. And you kind of have to explain, well, it's part of why... the cost of a piece of equipment like that is fairly high, and it's part of why farms in the Cotton Belt have gotten a little bit bigger over time. To justify that expense, instead of having folks out there picking by hand, or, that machine actually replaced 4 or 5 people on the farm where we already had issues with we didn't have a rural employee base. It just kind of helps me explain some of the things and give people a little connection to the farm that sitting in the Memphis airport they may not get otherwise.
Cool. That's a very good point.